I'm Not Cool Josh, and the special edition episode is called The No Cap Brian Shap Show, From Fear Through the Shapiro of Madness.
Some people care about my opinions. Some people care what I have to say.
Brian Shapiro says that he's a registered independent, but I'd argue that there is nothing independent going on in his mind. His personality lacks originality. I've never heard Brian Shapiro have a single bit of information from his mind that you haven't already heard from some anti-Trump, SJW, Karen vegan that only weighs 98 pounds in 2017. I've collected a giant list of hypocrisies, contradictions, and bad ideas. We're going to go through them. I'm going to announce each one and provide context. This will be worth it.
Football, basketball, and baseball.
Oh, wow. You played high school sports.
Football, basketball.
Brian Shapiro played tennis in high school and was awarded a scholarship for doing so.
It says that everyone that's here within our borders is entitled to due process.
It says any person.
The classic, the Constitution says person when it comes to due process. Okay, Brian, the Second Amendment says people when it comes to a well-regulated militia. Should illegal aliens be able to engage in a well-regulated militia armed?
He also said that he would lower all prices on day one. Was that just hyperbolic, or did he do that?
Brian Shapiro was a Joe Biden supporter, and I'm still waiting for my forgiven student loan debt.
Bro, do you take your hat off before you get laid?
You're talking about my physical attributes.
Every time I talk to you, you've got...
You are fat. You are fat.
Brian Shapiro tries to shame LG for remarking on his physical attributes when he is caught calling Rob a fat.
Stand up and show your six-pack.
In the last 10 minutes, he's told me to take off articles of my clothing.
Why don't you show your tits, Rob? Why don't you show your tits, Rob?
Brian Shapiro mocks LG's sarcastic remark of removing an article of clothing when Brian Shapiro himself asked Rob Noor to remove his shirt so he could look at his tits.
Myron likes to call out homosexuals, and that's like he uses homophobic slurs, which I think is reprehensible. I'm scared that I think you want to...
That's pretty gay. That's pretty gay.
Brian is always trying to virtue signal in defense of the LGBT community, but as you just saw, he really doesn't have a problem with these types of slurs.
Over 1,000 children have been molested by the clergy.
If you want to bring up the molestation scandals of the Catholic Church, then you need to bring up the molestation scandals of public school.
This is a perfect example of the definition of whataboutism.
You said, what about kids in the Catholic Church? That was the whataboutism.
Brian tries to call out his supervillain Andrew Wilson for employing whataboutism while he was doing a whataboutism because he's a hypocritical piece of shit.
Who was arrested? Were there any charges filed? Please answer that question.
No, there were no charges.
Got you. Okay, thank you. Okay, wow, we're moving on with the conversation. Thanks,
So
Bobby.
all you have is video.
Right, all you have is video.
Which is subjective.
I was assaulted at a Tim Pool live debate. What was the word he uses? Assaulted? Is that the word he used? By the way, this made national news, and I was the #1 story on Twitter when this happened.
You can watch the video. You can watch the video.
Guess what happened, Bobby? A guy put his hand in my face and physically assaulted me. I was asked if I wanted to press charges. I did not.
Cool Vic challenges Brian Shapiro on the assault of Savannah Hernandez. Brian poses that because there were no charges to her assaulters, that they can't say anything happened. Even though it was on video, that was subjective. Brian goes on to tell Vic about how he was assaulted at the Tim Pool event. Leonard even says it was on video, even though earlier that was subjective, and Brian declined to press charges. Hypocrite much?
Nope, you shouldn't be telling other people what to do.
No,
you shouldn't be telling other people what to do. At the peak of this, when I think we were losing somewhere around 4,000 to 5,000 people a day, do you think that would have been an appropriate time to have 60,000 people in a stadium watching a football game, not wearing masks, nothing?
If they so choose.
If they chose,
okay. Well, I disagree with
It's a choice.
I disagree.
What was Cool Guy Shapiro says, do what you want, man. You shouldn't get in the way of people's choices, unless you're the government breaking constitutional protocol during flu season.
Going back to 2020, I always hear the same argument from MAGA Republicans who claim that, Trump won. He got 81 million votes. Well, let me tell you something. A lot of those votes were anti-Donald Trump votes.
Mr. Independent and definitely not a hard leftist says, non-delusional Joe Biden definitely got 81 million votes, a record-breaking amount of votes that no president had got before or ever since, because it was an anti-Trump vote. If those weren't technically votes for Biden, then why didn't they do it with Kamala?
If Donald Trump conceded, which every other president in history has done, very prominent people on the right that I've had private conversations with, Donald Trump has admitted he lost the election.
Shameless.
Trump falls asleep. You want to talk
You
about?
don't care?
No, I don't. Not at all.
At a meeting when they're talking?
Literally no.
Wow.
I need to be explained an argument as to why falling asleep is such a big deal.
What do you fall asleep at? What meeting?
You can look it up.
He didn't even know what meeting it was. I hate when you can tell that he's being disingenuous. For all he knows, that meeting was about nothing, but he's still very upset about it. It's unpresidential. Trump bad, 34-count felon, raw dog storm.
Oh, you think transgender surgery should be illegal?
Yes.
But that's not hateful.
That's different than saying that should transgender surgery be.
He thinks it's a mental illness. He thinks everybody that's transgender
is in the DSM-5.
It's in the DSM-5. It needs to be, otherwise they can't get prescription medication.
I think there's all sorts of reasons why people could be considered mentally ill.
That mushroom gobbler said transgenders was a mental illness. Well, it is a mental illness. This is the DSM-5. They wouldn't be able to get medication unless it was classified as such. Well, there could be a lot of reasons why people have mental illnesses.
If Donald Trump is such a racist, he wouldn't have black people in the White House.
That's
like Trump walks up
He
to
has
you
one of
and
the
you're
whitest
like,
administrations in the history of the country.
Bro, I got to be honest.
Whatever happened to Tim Scott? He didn't hire Tim Scott, did he?
I'm pretty sure like the first 100 years of this country had substantially less black people.
Well, there were no black people in presidential administrations during a large majority of the first 100 years of our nation's existence. So I think Brian's referencing the slaves that a lot of the presidents owned, because I guess they were technically part of those administrations. Oh my God.
You voted for a 34-count felon.
Yeah, because he's the closest thing to my interest.
What has he done to help black people in the year and a half he's been in office?
He's intentionally setting the goalpost for the first year and a half because we were talking about his first term. There was nothing but benefits for black people, like record low unemployment pre-COVID, investment incentives in low-income black neighborhoods, the First Step Act, permanent funding for historically black colleges, prison reform and second chances, and school choice. Yeah, that was pretty painful. I don't know how you would have any respect for that dude after watching a video like this. But if you go to his YouTube channels and social medias, he has legitimate fans that, like, praise him and think that he's smart and doing the right thing. Brian Shapiro is their Brian Shapiro. So I'm asking you guys to do the right thing. Like and share this far and wide. Subscribe if you haven't, because there's going to be a lot more videos like this and others. But let's do our civic duty in warning the rest of the country about this danger known as Brian Shapiro. But he is a really easy lolcow to milk. I mean, all my milk buckets are overflowing. It just tastes like salty garbage, which is what I would assume the surface of his skin tastes like if one were to lick Brian Shapiro. What am I doing? That got weird, but thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.